The imperial palace of Thalara stood tall on the central mountain of the Virelian homeworld. Its walls were made of clear crystal that caught the light of 3 suns and turned it into soft rainbows across every room. Inside the biggest hall, Queen Ilara Voss sat on her high throne. She was very tall, almost 8 feet, with smooth skin that glowed a gentle blue. Her long silver hair fell like water down her back. Around her neck hung the crown of stars, a thin band of glowing metal that marked her as ruler of the Virelian Empire. Today the palace was full of guests from many worlds. They had come for an important summit. The Virelians wanted to sign a big trade agreement with several smaller species. The agreement would bring new resources to Thalara and open new markets for everyone. But not all aliens liked the idea. Some groups felt the Virelians were becoming too powerful. Whispers said danger might come to the talks. Queen Ilara looked out over the crowd with calm eyes. She wore a long white robe that shimmered when she moved. Her voice was clear and strong when she spoke to her advisors. "We welcome all who come in peace," she said. "Let the talks begin with open hearts." Among the guests stood a small group from Earth. At the front was Daniel Brooks. He was not tall. He was only 5 feet 9 inches. His shoulders were narrow, and his arms looked thin under his plain gray suit. His brown hair was cut short, and his face was ordinary, nothing special about it. Compared to the tall Virelians or the strong warriors from other worlds, Daniel looked weak. Many guests glanced at him and smiled a little, as if he were a child who wandered into a room of adults. Daniel did not mind the looks. He had been a diplomat for 5 years. He knew how to stay calm. He carried a small black case with papers and a tablet. No gun, no knife, no armor. Just words and a quiet smile. He walked slowly through the hall, nodding politely to everyone he passed. Queen Ilara noticed him right away. She had read the reports about humans. They came from a small blue planet full of water and storms. Their bodies were soft. They broke bones easily. They tired quickly in low gravity or high heat. She found it strange that such a weak species had reached the stars at all. Still, her advisors said humans were clever in business. Their trade goods, simple machines, medicines, and stories, sold well on many worlds. She leaned toward her chief advisor, a tall Virelian named Liron. "The human envoy," she said softly. "He looks like he might break if the wind blows too hard." Liron gave a small laugh. "They are strange, my queen, but their numbers grow fast, and they do not give up easily." Ilara nodded. "We shall see." The hall filled with music from crystal instruments. Servants brought trays of food, sweet fruits from distant moons, warm bread made from glowing grains, and cups of sparkling blue wine. The guests talked and laughed. Daniel stayed near the edge of the crowd. He listened more than he spoke. He watched how the Virelians moved, how they held their cups, how their eyes changed color when they were happy or angry. A tall delegate from the planet Zorath came up to him. The Zorath was covered in thick red fur and stood almost 9 feet tall. "You are the human," the delegate said in a deep voice. "I expected someone bigger." Daniel smiled. "Most people do, but size is not everything." The Zorath laughed loudly. "True, but tell me, how does a small creature like you survive among giants?" "We adapt," Daniel said simply. "We learn. We keep going." The delegate nodded and walked away, still smiling. As the evening went on, the mood in the hall grew warm. Queen Ilara stood up to give a speech. Everyone became quiet. She raised her cup high. "Friends from near and far," she began. "Tonight we take the first step toward a stronger future. Let this alliance bring wealth and peace to all our worlds." The guests cheered. Cups clinked. Music played again. Daniel stood near a tall pillar, Not far from the throne, he clapped politely. His eyes moved around the room, checking faces, checking hands. It was a habit he could not break. Years of training had taught him to notice small things: how someone held their shoulders, how their eyes darted, how their fingers moved. Then he saw it. A shadow moved where no shadow should be. Near the side wall, the air seemed to bend a little, like heat rising from hot ground. Most people would never notice, but Daniel had sharp eyes. He had trained to spot things that did not belong. The shadow moved closer. It came toward the center of the hall, straight toward the throne area, straight toward the place where Daniel stood. Queen Alara finished her speech and stepped down from the dais. She walked toward a group of delegates to greet them personally. Daniel stayed where he was, but his body became tense. His heart beat a little faster, but his face stayed calm. The shadow stopped 10 feet away. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a figure appeared for half a second. A tall, thin creature with 4 arms and dark gray skin. It wore a tight black suit that seemed to drink light. In one hand it held a short blade that glowed green at the edge. Neurotoxin, Daniel thought. One cut, and most beings would fall in seconds. The assassin looked straight at Daniel. Its yellow eyes narrowed. It had come for the human. Killing the Earth envoy would ruin the talks. It would make the Queen look weak. It would send a message to every world. Do not trust the Varelians. The creature raised its blade. Daniel took one slow breath. He did not shout. He simply waited. The assassin lunged. The blade moved fast, faster than most eyes could follow. It aimed for Daniel's neck. In that moment, the whole hall seemed to slow down. Queen Alara turned her head. She saw the flash of green light. She saw the assassin's shape become clear as its cloak failed for a second. She saw Daniel standing there, small and still. Her eyes widened. She opened her mouth to call the guards. But before the word could leave her lips, Daniel moved. His right hand came up quick and sure. Fingers closed around the assassin's thin wrist. The blade stopped an inch from his skin. The hall went silent. The assassin froze in shock. Daniel looked into the yellow eyes. His voice was low and steady. "Not today," he said. Queen Alara stared. Her glowing skin turned a deeper blue with surprise. The frail human had caught the killer, and he was not letting go. Daniel's fingers locked tight around the assassin's wrist. The green blade hovered so close to his throat that he could feel the cold hum of the neurotoxin inside it. The creature's 4 arms tensed. Its yellow eyes went wide with surprise. No one had ever stopped its first strike before. The hall stayed frozen. Hundreds of eyes stared. Servants dropped trays. Crystal cups hit the floor and shattered. The music from the instruments stopped in the middle of a note. Queen Alara stood only a few steps away. Her glowing skin flickered between soft blue and deep violet. Shock made her tall body go stiff. She had seen many battles in her long life. She had watched elite warriors fight. But this was different. A small human with no armor, no weapon, had caught death itself by the arm. The assassin hissed. It tried to pull free. Its muscles were strong, built for quick kills in the dark. His thin arm shook a little from the effort, but his grip stayed firm. Years of quiet training came back to him now. Simple holds, simple twists, learned in a plain gym on Earth. With a fast turn of his wrist, Daniel forced the blade away from his neck. The assassin swung its second arm. Another short blade flashed toward Daniel's side. He stepped back just enough. The edge cut through his gray suit sleeve. A thin line of blood appeared on his arm. Gasps filled the room. Queen Alara took one step forward. "Guards," she called. Her voice rang clear and sharp. But the guards were far. They stood at the doors and along the walls. The crowd was thick. It would take them seconds to push through. Seconds that felt like hours. The assassin used the moment. It twisted its body and tried to phase again. Its suit shimmered. The air around it bent like water. In half a second, it would vanish into shadow and strike from behind. He had noticed it earlier when the creature first moved. He did not think. He acted. He yanked hard on the wrist he still held. The pull dragged the assassin forward instead of letting it fade away. The phasing failed. The creature became solid again, stumbling a step closer. Daniel used the momentum. He stepped in tight. His left elbow came up fast. It drove straight into the soft spot under the assassin's jaw. A dull crack sounded. The creature's head snapped back. Its yellow eyes rolled for a moment. The assassin roared in pain. It lashed out with its lower two arms. Sharp claws raked toward Daniel's chest. He ducked low. The claws scraped over his shoulder, tearing more fabric. Another shallow cut opened on his skin. Blood soaked into the gray cloth. Daniel did not yell. He did not panic. His breathing stayed even. His face stayed calm. Only his eyes burned with focus. He grabbed the assassin's free arm, the one with the second blade. He twisted it behind the creature's back. The blade dropped and clattered on the crystal floor. Green toxin dripped from the edge and hissed as it touched the ground. The crowd started to move. Some guests ran toward the doors. Others pushed closer to see. Queen Alara stood still, her hands clenched at her sides. She could not look away. The assassin fought harder. It used its legs now. A knee came up toward Daniel's stomach. Daniel turned his hip and took the blow on the side. The hit pushed air out of his lungs in a short grunt, but he did not fall. He hooked his leg behind the assassin's ankle and pulled. The creature lost balance. It fell backward. Daniel went down with it, keeping his hold. They hit the floor together. Daniel landed on top. The assassin thrashed. Its remaining arms swung wild. One claw caught Daniel across the cheek. A thin red line appeared. Blood trickled down his face. He ignored it. With both hands, he pinned the last free arm to the ground. The assassin's strength was fading. Its breaths came fast and ragged. Daniel leaned close. "Stop fighting," he said quietly. "It's over." The creature spat in his face. Dark saliva hit his cheek. Daniel wiped it away with his shoulder. He did not blink. Guards finally broke through the crowd. 6 tall Varelians in silver armor rushed forward. They carried long stun staffs that glowed white at the tips. One guard raised his staff to strike the assassin. "Wait," Queen Alara said. Her voice cut through the noise like a blade. Everyone stopped. She walked forward slowly. Her robe brushed the floor. The crowd parted for her. She stopped a few feet from Daniel and the pinned assassin. She looked down at the human. Blood ran from his cheek and his arm. His suit was torn in 3 places. Sweat mixed with blood on his skin. His chest rose and fell. He looked straight back at her. For the first time, Queen Alara saw him clearly. Not as a weak guest, not as a curiosity from a small world. She saw a man who had just stopped a killer with nothing but his hands and his will. The assassin tried one last time to break free. Daniel tightened his hold. The creature groaned and went still. Queen Alara spoke softly. "Release him to my guards, human." Daniel looked up at her. He nodded once. He let go slowly. The guards moved in fast. They locked energy cuffs around the assassin's 4 wrists and ankles. The creature was pulled to its feet. It hung its head. Its cloak suit was torn. Its yellow eyes stared at the floor. The hall was quiet again. Only the soft sound of breathing filled the air. Daniel stood up. His legs shook just a little. He wiped blood from his cheek with the back of his hand. He looked around. Faces stared back. Shock, fear, wonder. She was much taller than him. She had to bend her head to meet his eyes. "You are hurt," she said. Daniel gave a small smile. "I've had worse." She studied the cuts on his arm. The blade carried toxin. Most would be on the floor by now. Daniel shrugged. "Humans are stubborn with poison. It burns, but it doesn't stop us fast." The Queen's eyes narrowed. She had never heard of such a thing. A medic from her staff hurried forward with a small silver case. He opened it and took out a healing patch. He pressed it to Daniel's arm. The patch glowed and sealed the cut. The bleeding stopped. Daniel thanked the medic quietly. Queen Alara turned to the guards. "Take the assassin to the lower cells. I want answers tonight." The guards bowed and dragged the creature away. She looked back at Daniel. "You saved the summit. You saved, perhaps more. I just did what I had to." The Queen did not answer right away. She watched him for a long moment. Around them, the guests began to whisper. Word would spread fast. A frail human had beaten a Shadow Concord killer in the Queen's own palace. Daniel felt the eyes on him. He straightened his torn suit as best he could. Blood stained the gray fabric dark. Queen Alara spoke again, her voice low, so only he could hear. "You are not what I thought, Daniel Brooks." He met her gaze. Most people aren't. For the first time that night, a small smile touched the Queen's lips. The banquet was over, but something new had begun. The guards pulled the assassin away. Its forearms hung loose in the energy cuffs. Its head stayed down. Dark blood dripped from its jaw where Daniel's elbow had hit. The hall doors closed behind them with a soft click. But the silence did not last long. Whispers started like wind through leaves. Guests turned to each other. Eyes moved from the empty spot on the floor to Daniel. He stood there, breathing hard. Blood ran down his cheek in a thin line. His torn sleeve showed red skin. The healing patch on his arm glowed faintly as it worked. Queen Alara still stared at him. Her tall body did not move. Her silver hair caught the light from the crystal walls. For a moment, she looked like a statue made of blue light. Then she spoke. "Everyone, please stay calm. The danger has passed." Her voice was steady, but softer than before. She raised one hand. Servants hurried forward with fresh cups and cloths. Some guests sat down again. Others stayed standing, too shocked to move. Daniel wiped his face with his good sleeve. The blood smeared, but stopped flowing. He looked around. Faces showed many things: fear, wonder, doubt. A few aliens smiled in surprise. A tall Zorith delegate laughed once, loud and deep. Daniel took a slow breath. His body hurt. The cuts burned. His ribs ached from the knee strike. But he stayed on his feet. He would not sit until the Queen said so. Queen Alara stepped closer. She towered over him. Her glowing eyes looked down. "You fought like no human I have ever seen," she said. "How?" Daniel met her gaze. "Training," he answered simply, "and practice. We learn to use what we have." She tilted her head. "You had nothing. No blade, no shield, only your hands." "I had surprise," Daniel said. "The assassin thought I was weak. That gave me a second. 1 second was enough." A murmur went through the crowd. Others looked unsure. The Queen turned to her chief advisor, Liran. "Bring the medical chief, and clear a space. I want no more interruptions." Liran bowed and moved fast. Servants pushed tables aside. A wide circle formed in the center of the hall. The crystal floor shone under the lights. Queen Alara looked back at Daniel. "Show me again," she said. "Not the fight, the way you move, the way you think." Daniel blinked. "Here? Now?" "Yes," she said, "if you are able." He nodded. "I can try." He stepped into the open space. His shoes made soft sounds on the crystal. He rolled his shoulders once. Pain shot through his side, but he ignored it. A guard brought a training staff. It was long and smooth, made of light metal. The guard offered it to Daniel. Daniel shook his head. No weapon, just me. The queen raised one eyebrow. Very well. She gave a small sign. Two of her personal guards stepped forward. They were tall, even for Varelians. Their armor gleamed silver. Each carried a stun staff, but they lowered them. Demonstrate, the queen said, as if they were attackers. The guards looked at each other, then at Daniel. They did not want to hurt the small human who had just beaten a killer. But the queen had spoken. They moved into position, one on each side of Daniel. Daniel stood loose, his knees bent a little. His hands hung open at his sides. The first guard moved. He swung his staff in a slow arc toward Daniel's shoulder. Not hard, just a test. Daniel stepped inside the swing. His body turned. His hand caught the staff near the guard's grip. He pushed up and twisted. The staff flew out of the guard's hands. It spun once and landed far away with a clang. Gasps rose again. The second guard reacted fast. He lunged with an open palm strike toward Daniel's chest. He hooked the guard's ankle with his foot and pulled. The tall Varelian stumbled. Daniel rose quick and pushed with both hands against the guard's chest. The guard fell back a step, surprised. Daniel did not follow. He stepped back to the center. His breathing stayed even. The guards looked at the queen. She nodded once. They bowed and moved away. Queen Ilara walked into the circle. She stopped in front of Daniel. You use their strength against them, she said. Yes, Daniel answered. Force is useful, but control is better. She studied him. And the poison? You bled. You felt it. Daniel touched the cut on his arm. The healing patch had closed it. Only a faint line remained. It hurt, he said, like fire in my veins. But humans have fought poison for thousands of years. Our bodies learn. We sweat it out. We keep moving. The queen's eyes narrowed. Thousands of years? Daniel nodded. Our world was hard. Ice, heat, sickness, war. We did not have strong bodies or long lives. So we found other ways. A quiet voice spoke from the crowd. It was the Zorath delegate. He is right. I have traded with humans. They break, but they do not stay broken. More whispers followed. Queen Ilara turned to the crowd. Tonight we saw something new, she said. A human stood against death and won. Not with power, not with weapons, with will. She looked back at Daniel. You are hurt. Rest now. My healers will care for you. Daniel shook his head. I'm fine, Your Majesty. Just need water. A servant brought a cup of clear water. Daniel drank slowly. The cold helped his throat. The queen watched him drink. Then she spoke again, softer. Why did you not call for help? You could have shouted, Run, let my guards handle it. Daniel set the cup down. Because it came for me, he said. If I ran, it might have turned on you, or someone else. I could not risk that. The queen's skin glowed a deeper blue. Respect. Not amusement, not pity. Respect. She placed one long hand on his shoulder. Her touch was light, warm. You protected more than yourself, she said. You protected the trust we build here. Daniel looked up at her. That's my job. The hall began to relax. Guests talked louder. Some laughed. The music started again, soft at first. Servants cleaned the broken glass and the drops of blood. But eyes kept returning to Daniel. The small human in the torn suit. The one who had caught an assassin. The one who had thrown Varelian guards without effort. Queen Ilara leaned down a little. Her voice was for him alone. There is more to humans than we knew. Daniel gave a small smile. There always is. She straightened. Come, walk with me to the side chamber. We will speak more, and you will let the healers finish their work." The crowd parted. Some bowed, some just stared. As they walked, Daniel felt the ache in his body grow, but he walked straight. No limp, no groan. Behind them, the whispers continued. Stories were already forming. A frail human, a deadly assassin, a queen who watched in silence. The night was not over, but something had changed forever. In the heart of the Varelian Empire, a small man from Earth had shown that strength hides in quiet places, and the sovereign would never forget it. The side chamber was smaller and quieter than the grand hall. Soft lights glowed from the crystal walls. Thick curtains blocked the outside world. A low table stood in the center with soft cushions around it. The air smelled clean, like fresh rain on stone. Queen Alara led Daniel inside. 2 healers followed close behind. They carried silver cases full of tools and glowing patches. Daniel walked slowly. Each step sent a dull ache through his ribs. Blood had dried on his cheek in a thin crust. His torn suit hung loose on his thin frame. The queen pointed to a cushion. "Sit," she said gently. Daniel sat. He kept his back straight. He did not want to look weak now. The healers knelt beside him. One, a young Varelian female with pale green skin, opened her case. She took out a small scanner. A thin blue light moved over Daniel's cuts. The device beeped softly. "The toxin is low," she said. "His blood fights it well. But the cuts need closing." Daniel nodded. "Go ahead." She pressed a new patch to his cheek. It warmed his skin. The pain faded to a soft throb. Another patch went on his arm. The third on his side, where the knee had hit. Daniel breathed easier. Queen Alara watched every move. She stood tall, arms folded. Her silver hair caught the light like threads of moonlight. She had not spoken much since they left the hall. Her mind was full of questions. When the healers finished, they bowed and left the room. The door closed with a quiet click. Now only Daniel and the queen remained. She walked to the table and poured 2 cups of warm golden tea from a crystal pot. She handed one to Daniel. Her long fingers brushed his for a moment. "Drink," she said. "It will help the healing." Daniel took the cup. The tea smelled sweet, like honey and flowers. He sipped. Warmth spread through his chest. "Thank you," he said. Queen Alara sat across from him on a higher cushion. Even sitting, she was taller. She looked at him for a long time. Her glowing eyes studied his face. "I have ruled for many cycles," she said. "I have seen warriors from every corner of the stars. I have seen machines that kill without thought. I have seen poisons that drop giants in one breath. But I have never seen what you did tonight." Daniel set his cup down. "It was not planned," he said. "I just reacted." "That is what makes it real," she answered. "You did not think of glory. You did not think of fear. You acted." Daniel looked at his hands. Small scratches still marked his knuckles. "On Earth, we learn early. Bad things happen. You either fight back or you fall. Most of us choose to fight." The queen leaned forward. "Tell me about your world. Not the reports, the truth." Daniel thought for a moment. "And cruel. We have oceans deeper than space seems. Mountains higher than some moons. Storms that tear cities apart. We live through them. We build again. We lose people. We cry. Then we stand up." Queen Alara listened. Her skin shifted to a softer blue. "And you? What made you this way?" Daniel gave a small laugh. "Nothing special. I grew up in a quiet town. My father taught me to fix things. My mother taught me to listen. Later, I joined the service. They trained us, not to be strong like your guards, to be smart, to use what we have, to never quit." The queen nodded slowly. Never quit. She stood and walked to a tall window. The curtains parted with a wave of her hand. Outside, the three suns had set. Stars filled the black sky. Thalara's twin moons hung low and bright. When the assassin came, she said without turning, "I thought you would die. I thought the summit would end in blood. I thought my empire would look weak." Daniel stayed quiet. She turned to face him. "Instead you stood. You bled. You fought. And you won." Daniel met her eyes. "I had no choice. If I fell, others might have too." Queen Alara walked back and sat again, closer this time. "The Shadow Concord sent that killer. They wanted to break our trust. They wanted to show the galaxy that even in my palace, no one is safe. They failed." She paused. "Because of you." Daniel shook his head. "Because we were ready. Not just me. Humans prepare. We expect trouble. We plan for it." The Queen smiled for the first time. A real smile. Small but warm. "You are humble. That is rare." Daniel shrugged. "We learned that too." A soft knock came at the door. Liren entered. He bowed low. "My queen," he said. "The assassin speaks. It confirms the Concord ordered the strike. They targeted the human to shame us. Send word to every allied world. The Concord will pay a price." Liren bowed again and left. The Queen looked at Daniel. "You have given us a gift tonight. Proof that strength is not always size, not always weapons. Sometimes it is a quiet man who refuses to break." Daniel finished his tea. "I'm glad I could help." She stood. "Rest here tonight. My healers will watch you. Tomorrow we sign the agreement, with better terms for Earth." Daniel stood too. He felt steadier now. The tea and patches had done their work. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Queen Alara placed her hand on his shoulder again. This time she did not pull away quickly. "Call me Alara," she said, "when we are alone." Daniel blinked in surprise. "Alara." She nodded. "You have earned that much." They walked back toward the door. The Queen stopped before opening it. "One more thing," she said. "The galaxy will hear this story. They will hear how a frail human defeated one of the best killers in the shadows. They will wonder what else humans hide." Daniel looked up at her. "Let them wonder." She opened the door. Guards stood outside. They saluted. One carried a fresh robe for Daniel. Simple gray, like his torn suit, but clean and whole. Daniel took it. "Good night, Alara." "Good night, Daniel Brooks." He walked down the quiet hall. Guards followed at a respectful distance. His steps were slow but sure. Behind him, Queen Alara watched until he turned the corner. She closed the door. Alone now, she touched the spot where her hand had rested on his shoulder. For the first time in many years, she felt something new. Not fear, not anger, not pity. Curiosity. And respect. Deep respect. The frail human had not just won a fight. He had changed how she saw an entire species. And perhaps how the stars would see them too. Morning light poured through the high crystal windows of the Imperial Palace. The three suns rose slowly over Thalara. Their golden rays turned the walls into rivers of soft color. Inside the main hall, everything looked different now. Tables stood ready for the signing ceremony. Flags from many worlds hung side by side. The air felt calm, but full of quiet energy. Daniel Brooks walked in, wearing a fresh gray suit. It fit him well. No tears, no blood. Only a small scar on his cheek remained. The healers had worked through the night. His body still ached in places, but he moved easy. His eyes were clear. His steps were steady. Guests filled the hall again. They talked in low voices. Many looked at Daniel when he entered. Some nodded with respect. Others stared openly. The Zorath delegate raised a furry hand in greeting. Daniel returned a small smile. Queen Alara Voss stood near the throne dais. She wore a deep blue robe today. Gold threads ran through it like stars. The crown of stars glowed bright on her brow. She looked taller than ever, stronger. But her eyes searched the room until they found Daniel. She walked down the steps to meet him. The crowd grew quiet. "You look better," she said. Daniel bowed his head a little. "Thanks to your healers and the tea." She gave a small smile. "Come, stand with me for the signing." Daniel followed her up the dais. They stood side by side. He felt small next to her height, but he did not shrink. He stood straight. The ceremony began. Advisors read the agreement aloud. Words about trade, words about peace, words about trust between worlds. One by one, leaders stepped forward. They pressed their marks on the glowing tablet. Light flashed each time. The alliance grew stronger with every name. When it was Earth's turn, Daniel stepped forward. Queen Alara handed him the stylus herself. Their fingers touched again. She looked into his eyes. "Earth gains more than we planned," she said quietly. "Better access to our core routes, lower taxes on your goods, a seat at future councils." Daniel paused. "That is generous." "It is fair," she answered. "You earned it." He pressed his mark. The tablet flashed bright. Cheers rose from the crowd. Music played again. Clear notes from crystal instruments. After the signing, the guests moved to a large open balcony. Fresh air blew in from the mountains. Servants brought trays of fruit and cool drinks. People talked and laughed. The mood felt light. Queen Alara led Daniel to a quiet corner of the balcony. They stood looking out over the city. Towers of crystal rose like frozen waves. Flying ships moved slow in the sky. She spoke first. "Last night changed many things." Daniel nodded. "For me too." She turned to face him. "I thought humans were weak, soft, young. I was wrong." Daniel looked up at her. "We are young and soft in some ways, but we survive. We learn. We keep going when others stop." The queen's skin glowed a warm blue. "I saw that. When the blade came for you, I expected you to fall. Instead, you caught it. You fought. You won. Not with strength like my guards, with something else." "Stubbornness," Daniel said with a small laugh. "We call it grit." "Grit," she repeated. The word sounded new on her tongue. "Tell me more about it." Daniel thought for a moment. "On Earth, we face hard things all the time. Floods, fires, sickness. We lose homes, we lose people. But we do not give up. We rebuild. We help each other. We find ways." Queen Alara listened closely. "And you? Did you ever want to give up?" "Many times," Daniel said honestly. "But I remember my family, my home, the people who depend on me. That keeps me moving." She placed her hand on the balcony rail, her long fingers curled around the smooth crystal. "I rule an empire of billions. I make choices that affect worlds. Sometimes I feel alone in it. Last night, I felt something different. I felt protected by one small human." Daniel looked surprised. "I only did what needed doing." "That is why it matters," she said. "You did not do it for praise. You did it because it was right." A soft wind blew. It moved her silver hair. She looked out at the city again. "The galaxy will hear this story soon," she said. "They will hear how the Shadow Concord failed, how their best killer fell to a human with no weapons. They will ask questions. They will fear what they do not understand." Daniel stayed quiet. She turned back to him. "And they should, because humans are not what we thought. You hide your strength. You wait. You strike only when you must. That makes you dangerous." Daniel gave a small shrug. "We just want to live in peace, trade, learn, grow." Queen Alara smiled fully now. "Then let us do that together." She reached out and placed her hand on his shoulder once more. This time it stayed. Warm, steady. You are welcome here any time, Daniel Brooks. As a friend, as an equal. Daniel felt the weight of her words. He met her eyes. Thank you, Alara. That means a lot. They stood there for a while. The suns climbed higher. The city below woke up fully. Ships moved. People walked. Life went on. Later, when it was time for Daniel to leave, Queen Alara walked him to the landing pad. His shuttle waited, small and plain compared to the Varillian ships around it. Guards saluted as he passed. Some bowed deeper than before. At the ramp, Daniel stopped. He turned to her. "Safe travels," she said. Daniel nodded. "Stay strong." She leaned down a little. Her voice was soft. "Remember this. The galaxy is big, full of wonders, full of dangers. But now, it knows one more truth." Daniel waited. She spoke the words slowly. "Never underestimate a human." Daniel smiled. "We'll try not to make it too easy." He stepped onto the ramp. The door closed behind him. Queen Alara watched the shuttle rise. It grew small against the sky. Then it was gone. She stood there a long time. The wind played with her robe. Around her, advisors waited. Work called. But for a moment, she let herself think. She thought about a small man from a blue world, about blood on crystal floors, about hands that caught death and did not let go. She thought about grit, and she smiled. The stars had changed last night. A frail human had shown the Empire what real strength looked like, and the sovereign would never see humanity the same way again.